The first order of business is the election of the chairperson for tonight. Do we have a motion?
Nominate Paul.
I second that.
Any other? All those in favor?
We
Say aye.
can't hear you.
We cannot hear you.
We are electing a chairperson for the meeting tonight, and I ask for nominations for the chairperson to be elected tonight. And I believe Nate Eichler nominated Robert Holland, and it was seconded. Motion was seconded. All those in favor of Robert Holland as chairing the meeting tonight, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No.
Okay. Now the community, I'm instructed that the community can vote for the levy, but they cannot vote for the other matters on the agenda. But your vote is noted anyhow. Motion carried.
Could I speak, please?
We're opening it up. Community comments right now.
This is the people's meeting.
Yeah, I don't understand why you say that we can't vote, or, I mean, I thought this, that vote act town manager. I thought this was the meeting where we speak.
It is.
And where we can make motions and where we vote. When did that change? I mean, when I was on the board for 12 years, people from the audience made motions.
Exactly.
They voted. This is our annual meeting, the members of the school district, so I looked at your whole thing here in the back and I didn't see anything about that.
Well, under voters' resolutions, you may vote, and we are at the point where we're going to get to those matters right now.
Well, but we could even elect the chair people before.
Right. Yes.
I mean, I guess I don't understand when that changed.
This is a deviation from what I've been experiencing the last 12 years.
Right.
I also am a former board member, and the audience gets at the electors of the district nominate who will chair the meeting. I'm not unhappy that you are, sir, but before you close the nominations, you should have asked for additional nominations. And the people who voted no, it's their right to vote no, and there should have been room and time for additional nominations of board members or of a chairman to this meeting.
Right.
Thank you.
None of us are experts. If you feel that you should have a right to elect the chairman, then we can reopen it. And we've always said it is your district. And we're not trying to run a railroad here, as they say. But if you've made your points, I have no data to suggest otherwise at the moment. And if you feel otherwise, let's reopen that. And if you want to make a motion, we can have a standing comment and elect a new chairperson before the meeting is over. Why don't we do that?
I have a guide here for school board annual meetings, and it definitely says in there that it is rarely, if ever, a board board member who chairs the annual meeting. So at this time, I would like to nominate Bill Stewart. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Okay, just one moment. We're working off of the WASP guidelines. In those guidelines, it says that every elector in the district, including every school board member, is eligible to vote.
Thank you.
You bet. So, Nate, would you make your motion again, please, for the group?
And now I need to
Yeah, I second that.
Okay. Standing vote, those in favor of...
I think the way that it proceeds is you collect who is nominated, and then you would ask who would be in favor of Mr. Holland, who unfortunately might be in favor of Mr. Stewart, and to see where the plurality is. I believe that's the customary way of voting between two alternatives, not successive motions that one should pass. It's an election process, not passage of a motion.
Excuse me, are we redoing that first motion?
Yes. Yes.
And we make the motion, second motion.
Nate, ready?
Okay. No, I-
Okay. Then, do we have a motion for another candidate at this point, other than Robert Holland?
I nominate Bill Stewart.
And is there a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you for stating, that's very helpful.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to ask for a standing.
Are there any other?
Are there any other nominations at this time to chair the meeting this evening? There being none,
You have to call that out 3 times.
are there any other nominations to chair this meeting this evening? Any other nominations to chair the meeting this evening? Any other nominations? I hear none. At this time, I would ask for a standing count so that we can count these votes accurately. And I would ask to take these numbers down. Thank you. All those in favor of Robert Holland chairing the meeting, the annual meeting tonight, please respond by standing. All those in favor of Mrs. Stewart chairing the meeting this evening, please respond by standing.
Vote is Robert Rowland, 12, Bill Stewart, 40.
Motion is, be it resolved that a tax for the general district operating costs in the amount of $11,586,034. In debt services, the amount of $2,649,199. And for community services, in the amount of $250,000, for a total combined amount of $14,467,178. Be levied on all properties, real estate and personal, which is taxable under the state tax laws within the Schooner Area School District for the purpose of financing and operating that of the public schools during the 2014-15 school year, pursuant to the budget for this year as presented at the annual meeting, and in accordance with Wisconsin State Statute Sections 12010 subarticles 6 through 11.
And my personal opinion is we're precluded by state law, more or less, from increasing the budget to do that. I do think that teachers will continue to deliver the professional services that they're asked to, but the district's ability to hold teachers in this district that value experience and longevity and become a member of the community and buy a house and stay put is rapidly diminishing.
Here, here.
Right. I would just clarify that putting this amount on there doesn't change the operating deficit that's happening. That helps clarify.
That's what I'm concerned about.
Right.
And I feel that has to be addressed. I feel this school has been operating very lean over the years under good administration. And we have proven that we could do that well, but we are shortchanging ourselves. And as the future unfolds itself, you and I are going to watch education diminish because we fail to invest in education adequately. And it seems to me that if we can invest in other things that are far more frivolous in life, we need to ask ourselves, both as board members and as electors, that we have to ask, how can we change this so that we can retain good teachers, which we have already in this school system, and to be able to fund the other necessary things that allow education to take place at a high quality level so that this community will benefit. For what we are doing in this school is we are creating the social infrastructure that makes this community work. And when we deplete that social infrastructure, it begins to be painful in the community, especially here. We may be able to get by in other places, but we cannot get by in the area of education.
If there are no additional new business comments or questions, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the 2014 annual meeting. Ms. Lakewood?
I didn't realize this was new business because I've been asking for such a long time. But I'd like to ask the board a combination of 3 questions. The first question is, how many people have exited our staff in the last year? Secondly, I'd like to ask you what you think is the reason that this exodus is taking place. And the last part of the question is, what are we going to do to prevent this exodus from continuing? Your comments, please.
Sure. If you want to lead off, and we can work our way south and north.
You addressed your question to the board, but I can speak, and I can't speak to the previous 5 years, but what our data is saying that some of the departures are due to retirements, and so that's what we see in the data as far as post-employment payouts and things like that.
I'm really interested in the last year, Michelle, and I realize that there have been retirements, but there has been a lot of other things going on too, and I just wondered how you're answering that in your board meetings and your faculty meetings and your administration meetings. How are you explaining that?
As far as
The number of people who have left, and I haven't heard that number yet, but I know it's fairly high.
I can only speak to the 3 people that have left since I've taken on the administration.
Okay.
So that would be since the middle of July. And I can't make public comments about why they're making those personal or professional decisions.
No trends? Nothing?
Of the 3 that I know of, each one of them was very different. So some of them didn't even pursue employment after they left our organization, so it wasn't to take a position elsewhere necessarily.
And
Ms. Laker, let me try a twist on that. First, I want to say Carol and I haven't talked for about a year, so this isn't a conspiracy of her nominating me to ask this question. But I believe all the administration that was here a year ago is gone. I don't think any of them, maybe one, retired. Was that planned, and is it a success? Or was it inadvertent and a failure?
I wouldn't call it a success. I'm John Edlin. I'm new to the board this year. I think you're right. I think all administrators have rolled over. It would be entirely speculation, but I'm guessing that your frustrations with the budget are related to that. It's not an easy spot to be in.
Well, was it the board's intention that they would leave?
I've never talked to anybody that has been after somebody's meeting.
I believe this is a great time for the board to self-reflect on ourselves and why our 6 administrators left. We have a great team that came in here, and moving forward they have great assets, and I'm very happy to work with them. But also the board need to self-reflect what happened and why did all 6 leave.
Is there additional comments from the board in response? Ms. Lickler, do you have a follow-up on that?
well, my third question wasn't answered, and that was how can we prevent this from continuing?
I think when each person leaves for different reasons, as an organization that looks to move forward, we have to really be key in our communication as far as what we expect from staff and how we're moving forward, have their expectations, a vision, set goals, things like that. And people may choose to self-select out, that may be a choice. People may choose to retire because of all of the change. There's lots of different reasons that people leave organizations, and it's definitely not unique to Spooner. It's definitely not unique to our area even, or to education.
Typically, though, when people are happy, they don't leave. And part of the morale issues here is what's bothering me, and it's bothering me a lot. You walk into the schools and you don't see happy faces. And I've said to one of the board members before, and I'll say it again, if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. And that reflects on down to our students, and it is not a good situation. And morale doesn't always have a dollar sign attached to it. It is treating them as professionals instead of like little kids. It's giving them appreciation instead of telling them that, you know, we're not doing well, we've got to do better, and so forth and so on. It is just not a good situation. And I've been out of the teaching bit for a couple of years now. I did a lot of substituting after I retired, so I still had my fingers in the pie. But doggone it, I don't like what I see. I really don't like what I see. And it's across the board. It's elementary, middle school, high school. These people are not happy, and it's not because of money.
Thank you for your comments. I understand that right now, while there is a transition being made, there's going to be some uncertainty. And I think that's probably a good source of people are nervous. They don't know what the environment is, but I can assure you that the environment among the board right now is that we want this to be a great school for a teacher to be at. We want it to be a great school for a student to be at. We want the budget to work in favor of what we've got to work with. And we're looking at this as we want to find out the best things that we can do to move forward, and we're with you, and we appreciate what your viewpoint is.
Jean Hobart, following up with Carol, if it isn't the money, as a board, what incentives are you providing for the staff to want to stay here? Is there anything?
There's an assessment being done, and you're asking the board to make a determination before that assessment's made of where we're going, how we're going to get there, how our staffing model is going to be. You know, I understand the hardest thing in life is changing jobs, and that's what people are worried about, and I appreciate that. But we have to do the best we can for the children of of our district. So we have to wait to see what information comes back from us as a board and make the best decision for the children. And that's where we have to go with it. And some of the decisions we make as a taxpayer you may not like, some we may not like, but it's what we have to do to make it work for our district. And that's the way I feel. I'm pretty strong about that.
I got involved with the school board because I have a child in the district and I wanted to see the best for our kids. And also I wanted to be fiscally responsible too. But I'm not saying one's a priority over either one of them, but you know, first and foremost, we're here because of the kids. At least I speak for myself.
Yeah, this is a very sensitive subject. It is my impression that a number of the administrators left because they didn't like the direction the board was going. It's hard to say that, and it's my personal opinion, so take it for only that. I did some exit interviews with administrators, and that's the impression that I got. There were other reasons. When they had spent, I don't know, 36 years or something at the job, wanted to retire, felt that was a good time to do it. But all of that happened at the time of Walker's, you know, getting rid of the union ability, and each of the teachers that I know of, it seems to me, took about a $10,000 hit per year when that happened. Morale sank like a ship going down, and then there was this concern about financial responsibility, that this ship needed to be righted, and it wasn't good, and the board changed, and although the administration didn't perceive it that way, or I don't know how to say this diplomatically, I think there was a sense that the board was micromanaging how professionals were working and how they were doing their jobs. The professionals were uncomfortable with that. I don't think that was the board's intent, but that's the way it came across. Other financial hits have occurred. New standards are being established, the Common Core, ACT readiness. You know, this is a time of immense change. We are not alone in Spooner when it comes to morale problems. Talk to people in our neighboring towns. Everybody's suffering. This is a time of great upheaval and change and pain. And I think it falls particularly hard on the staff. I will say that it is my sincere impression that the board, this board, is primarily interested in excellence in education. There is also a strong fiduciary responsibility mood to this board. We have been deficit spending for years, and the end is in sight. We're trying to make the best with what we've got, knowing full well that at some point we will need to go to a referendum, an operational referendum, and that's coming up sooner rather than later. It is our sincere hope that when that time comes, there will be community support for that referendum, because we can't really raise money any other way. We need money. At an annual meeting like this a year or two ago, it was my premise, and I stated this from this podium. I said, I think teachers ought to be paid more. There was a guy in the back row, I might have hit him in the head with a 2x4 with that reaction. There was this astounding reaction that teachers were paid too much. That is not at all what this board believes. I feel very, very fortunate that we have an excellent administrative staff and leadership team that will help get us through this, and in the long run we will become better for it. So I am optimistic, but I'm also sad to see a lot of very good people go that I had an awful lot of respect for. they had their reasons. So I don't know. I kind of talk around it. That's about all I can say.
When do you think we can move to a referendum to take care of the financial stability and task of this school district for the young people that we have in our midst, for whom we are all responsible for? When will we do that? And secondly, if we continue that the staff of this school has to take the punishment for the physical responsibility of balancing the budget, the atmosphere for a referendum will be poisoned. If we have more people, good people, leaving this school district, as already has been announced, because we have failed to take good care of them and respect them and encourage them, and we have failed to move toward a referendum that needs to come, the referendum isn't going to work. We're going to poison the atmosphere. And I think the administration needs to keep that firmly in mind, as well as the school board. You cannot balance the physicality of this budget on the backs of teachers and support staff personnel. I know, I do the reading, I know what is going on with Common Core, and I support it. But I do think that you have the responsibility, primarily before physical responsibility and along with it, to see to that they have generous resources to be able to teach to the Common Core. And if you don't provide that, you're simply going to have swinging doors, because you're making life miserable for the professional educators and the support staff that are behind them and with them. So it is your responsibilities to figure that out. And I would say let's move toward a referendum and get that task done so that we have the money and we can work with the professionals that we have and give them the freedom to do what they know they can do.
Dr. Gellner, I appreciate your words. I believe you. I'm waiting to see the actions from the rest of you. Words matter, actions matter more. And so we'll watch your actions and you'll be judged by that. That'll be your legacy, for better or worse, what you do with our children. I'm hopeful, and Randy, you talked in between the break, and I take your word at that as well, that you see better things ahead, and I'm relying on you to look after our resource, our children. And so what you have here is a room full of people that are in support of our children, in support of this district, in support of you being successful as well. And so I view that as optimism, that you heard people passionately speak about what matters. And in these days of global economies and technological change and the career challenges and great opportunities that lie before our youth, it's amazing. There's a quote that says, "Our youth are the invisible message we send to a future we will never see." That is our mantra. And so your actions matter. We will look forward with optimism that your words, your actions match your words. And you've heard good things about the interest in the community here tonight. And so with that, I make a motion to adjourn.